Hey, and welcome back to Duhawks Burning Question. I'm your host, Josh Larson. Joining me at the desk today is my new co-host, Dustin Dawson. Welcome, Dusty.
Thanks, Josh. Feels great to be a part of the show.
Well, for today on the show, we're celebrating the beginning of the bowl season in college football, and we'll be doing mainly related questions to college football. So if you have any questions, tweet at us at Duhawks Burning Questions, and we'll get back to them later in the show. Dusty, let's start off close to home. The Warriors college football team hasn't been doing too well, but what do you see happening for the future of the Duhawks?
Well, I mean, Josh, this was really a disappointing season for them. Coming into the season, I had the opportunity to talk to Coach Helminiak about kind of the expectations that have been kind of buzzing. And, I mean, he was excited about the season, but he told us that it was mainly about bottling up those expectations and really proving it on the field. Unfortunately for the Duhawks, they weren't able to do that after they finished with a 1-9 record. And, I mean, really, it was just disappointing because, I mean, this was supposed to be the year where maybe not we weren't competing for the conference championship, but, I mean, we were getting closer because we had win total increases the past 2 years, and now we come back, we're at 1-9, so we kind of fell back. We moved up the ladder those past couple years, and now it went back down. So it's really going to be interesting to see what kind of offseason they have and if they can come back and really start moving along. I mean, they're going to have big shoes to fill in the running back position and in the wide receiver position is Zach Minch. He ran for 1,200 yards last year and had 9 touchdowns as well. So he was really the one consistent thing that they had on offense last year. The passing game, I mean, as we know, Josh, our junior year 2 years ago, they were a high prolific offense. They were scoring points. They were passing all over the field. So that's kind of what we expected coming into this year. But really, the quarterback position, it struggled. Bob Kelly, he threw for only 9 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. And when Nolan Baumhover came in relief, he had 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So a little bit better touchdown to interception ratio. But still, I mean, you can't turn the ball over that much and put your defense. Because, I mean, they came back with a senior-led defense and Brian Herman and those type of guys, Mark Tilkus, Calvin Harris, and just a pretty good defensive unit. But, I mean, when you're on the field and being put in those tough situations, it's hard for them to really keep the opposing team out of the end zone.
Well, I agree with you 100%. It's all about, the coaching staff implementing a system that's going to work over a long period of time. Essentially, Helminiak's still fairly new and green to the program itself, and with only having 7 seniors on the roster, you're going to have a young group and core coming for the next few years, which is promising. But like you said, we have started to see regressions in the program, which are not always promising. So what we would like to see is, them getting back on track with a little more consistency, a little more, instead of getting, blown out in games, we want to see the natural progression of a college football team that is going to be, towards the top or at least the middle of the conference towards the next coming years. Mm-hmm. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll get those questions and we'll be right back to answer them.
Face-off, Akeem, Duncan Keith helps out. Reamy goes down, top shelf, and the reaction from Patrick Kane. Yeah, they're taking time off the clock. They're precise. To get it, he's knocked away. And a quick shot is in! Under the crossbar! What a deal to lead!
Welcome back. Let's see what college football questions you guys have for us. At Hawkeye Down asks, from what Big Ten team has the best chance of representing the Final Four?
Well, Josh, I think it's with the win against Michigan this past weekend. I think Ohio State is a lock at this point. I mean, they have a great resume. They have wins over Oklahoma, Michigan. I mean, 2 high prolific programs. So I think they're a lock. And I know Alabama. They play this week against Florida in the SEC championship. But even by some miracle, if they lose to Florida, I still think they're in just because of their resume. They play in a tough SEC conference. So I think they're in regardless. So those are the 2 teams I have in as a lock. But I mean, you have Michigan on the outside looking in. They're number 5 right now. You have Wisconsin, who's number 6, and Penn State, who's number 7. And Josh, really the biggest thing about this is that the 2 teams that are ahead in the rankings aren't even playing in the Big Ten championship this week. You have Penn State, who's number 7, and Wisconsin, who's number 6, playing each other in the East, or the winners of East and West, respectively. And it'll just be interesting to see what happens because, I mean, with Clemson at 3, they play Virginia Tech in the ACC Championship. 4, Washington plays Colorado, who's number 8, so that could cause some stir in the rankings as well. So, I mean, there's still a lot of stuff to figure out here, but I mean, if you're going to talk about one team that I would say from the Big Ten that's a lock, I would say it's Ohio State.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. I think when I started the season, I thought Michigan was, by far the most talented team in the conference. Ohio State closest second, but still, I think Ohio State's in for sure. But the question comes: does a second team, potentially with a Washington loss, tonight to Colorado in their championship, who's it going to be? Does Michigan get in based off their resume and record alone, or do you go with the Big Ten champion, with who may have a slightly softer record, in Penn State or Wisconsin? It's really left open. Those 3 bubble teams of the Big Ten. It's essentially a crapshoot at this point. If Washington can concede and lose,
really, it's going to come down to 3 and 4 this week, as I mentioned. Really, Clemson. It was during that week of the upsets. Clemson lost to Pittsburgh that week. Michigan got beat by Iowa, a game that I was at, so that was awesome as being a pretty big Iowa fan. But obviously, they didn't have the type of year that I was hoping for after going to the Big Ten championship last year and then going to the Rose Bowl as well. But it's just been a really tough Big Ten year. I mean, Iowa came in as the favorite to win in the West, but then Wisconsin, they came in out of nowhere, really, just with a solid defense. And I mean, it's going to be an interesting Big Ten championship this week. It's going to be a high-powered offense in Penn State against a really good, one of the best, not only in the Big Ten, but one of the best defenses in the nation in Wisconsin.
Well, as you were mentioning, Penn State, it's the first time they're really back since the Joe Pa era, and it's really nice to see those guys back in the college football,
especially after the scandal as well.
Oh, absolutely, with the conversations back into who's it going to be, and it's good to see those guys back. It's going to be an exciting game tonight, but as far as we both agree, Ohio State's in, and the rest is to be determined based off the games. And it's going to be an exciting week, but we're going to move on.
Josh, I got Roll Tide Cowboy asked, can anyone stop Alabama?
To answer shortly, no.
I think that's about as blunt as possible, and I agree with you. I mean, they've been running through people. I mean, Josh, every single year, maybe not this year, because I think this year Big Ten is the best conference. I mean, maybe not top to bottom, but at least the top heaviest. I mean, they got 4 out of the top 7 in the college football playoffs. So, I mean, I think they're very good. But I mean, looking at the SEC and stuff like that, you guys, I mean, you have to play teams like Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Auburn, LSU. I mean, some of those teams haven't had the type of years that they've wanted, but I mean, I don't want to tackle Leonard Fournette or anyone like that or try to play it. It'd be tough. It's a tough conference to win in, and Alabama went straight through it this year.
Well, and they seem to do it consistently every year. Nick Saban is essentially he's the mastermind of college football. His recruiting is bar none, and the reason why they are so consistent every year, other teams may be able to match up, player for player at position 1, but they get deeper as the game goes and the season goes, and positions 1 and 2 and 3 are just as good as position 1. And you can literally, those teams are so deep, especially the SEC, but Alabama's always been the cream of the crop when it comes to them. And I honestly don't see anyone, even competing is one thing, but winning is another. So we're just going to have to see, but as of right now, I don't see it happening.
You see, we talked about this before. I think really Ohio State's going to bring the best opportunity to do it, just because they have a good quarterback in JT Barrett and they have a great defense. If Michigan's able to get there, then maybe, because of just their defense. I don't know if they have enough on the offensive side, but it'll be interesting to see.
The thing about it is, I don't know if Michigan will even be in to even have a chance. I agree with you that I think they do have probably the best shot, but I'm not. It's a matter of getting in first, winning to get there, and then you have the beast in Alabama, and that's never been an easy task, at least for the past couple decades.
Yeah. So, and then Josh, that'll wrap up that question. But our final question comes from Daniel Mosca. Asked, who will win the NCAA championship this year? And I think we kind of already talked a little bit about that. But I mean, my pick, I think, is Alabama. I just don't think there's really anyone that that can help with that. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But I mean, Josh, we talk about it and the depth that they have. I mean, some of these guys that are even like the second and third string type of players could probably play on a lot of teams in most conferences. So, I mean, that's just the quality of depth that they have. And, I mean, when you have Nick Saban on the sideline for you, you know that you're going to have a good opportunity to win the game. And, I mean, for the first time, I believe, in his coaching era, at least at Alabama, he's starting a true freshman quarterback, and he's killing it. I mean, Jalen Hurts really came out of nowhere. He's a true freshman. They were having a battle. He was having a battle with a couple guys at the beginning of spring training, or at the spring practice. But I mean, ever since then, he's really taken the reins and really, I mean, he's led a 12-0 Alabama team that really doesn't see an end in sight.
Well, I think a better question is, who would win the Cleveland Browns or or Alabama? I honestly think it wouldn't be, as good a game as we would hope. But that's just the conversation you can bring. This team is, next to NFL caliber as it can be. And to me, Alabama wins. But it comes who's going to be the chaser? Who's going to be in the big dance with them? I like Ohio State. They have a good shot. If Michigan gets in, I think they can push it as well. But the other Ohio, or I already mentioned Ohio State, Clemson, and Washington. I'm just not quite sure who it's going to be. But my pick is Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's going to be our show. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time at Duhawks Burning Questions. See you later.